We must start at a Mishnah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Samach Zion. Okay. Thank Hashem that we learn Torah every day. It's chus of our learning. We should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. Learning the Nishma, Sabbaton the Basra Benjamin, the sons of Ben Zion, and which name of Ben Sarah. I guess it's all yes, been figured from my father. And Miriam Madel. Okay. Mishnah says like this. Kaisvin get leisha afal pisha inish the yimai. Very like practical, like Kitzur Shulchan Aruch type of a Mishnah. It's you're allowed to write the divorce document, the get document for a man, even though his wife isn't there. Now, there's a concern in writing documents. If you start writing documents for people and witnesses are signing things, and the event hasn't taken place yet, so this could be used for some fraud. But we're not concerned about anything here. You're allowed to write a divorce document for a man, and when he's ready, he'll give it to his wife. There's an issue, I think, if he doesn't give it right away, and they live together afterwards. I think it's called the get yashon or something. There was a problem with that. Yeah.
And the get is valid. If he writes the receipt for his wife to get divorced, is it like 30 days? Is it 10 days?
I think it's valid
for
a long time, but they can't be together.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. Next case is you can write a receipt for a woman that she received her ksuba, but she's going to give to her. Oh, thank you. She's going to give it to her husband after the husband pays. She just wants to have it ready, because when he's going to show up, he's going to say he's going to show up with the money. He's going to say, "You have your receipt? You don't have a receipt? Okay, get a receipt, and then I'll pay you." And then they have to wait another 6 months because the guy disappears. So she wants to have her receipt ready that he should not have any claim when he's ready to pay the tzuba. Yeah. Now, the only concern over here is that if she loses the receipt and the husband gets a hold of it, she's in trouble. Okay. So, makiran. The important thing is that they have to recognize that these people are actually the people that are being discussed in these documents. Because that could also cause some fraud where someone shows up, he says that what his name is, and then he could end up giving either a divorce to a woman. Let's say he wants to live with this woman who's married, but the husband will never divorce her. So he says that his name is the husband's name. Shows up. It's the husband's Reuven. So he says, "Yeah, I'm Reuven Ben Yaakov or whatever, and I want to divorce my wife, Sprinza." And says, "Oh, okay, and they write the divorce. Then he gives it to her, and they run off. Now she's not really divorced, but maybe but she has a get that says that she's divorced from her husband." Right. Well, it's important that they recognize who the people are. We'll see in the Gemara some interesting stories. The husband has to pay for the shaver and also for the get. Yeah, the Gemara is going to switch this on us, even though the Mishnah says that the husband pays. It's going to switch that the woman pays, and the reason for that is because the husband may refuse giving the get because it costs him money. So we put the obligation on the woman. We switched that. Yeah. That way, there's no other interference here with the get. You can write a document, a promissory note for the borrower. He should have it ready when he goes to the person to ask, can you give me this big loan? And the guy says, yeah, but I don't have my scribe here. You'll come back tomorrow. He says, no, I've taken care of that already. Here's the document. We have it ready. So, even though the borrower wasn't there at the time that it was written. That would be a big problem. You'd write a promissory note and witnesses would sign on it, but the money wasn't lent yet. That if you definitely don't do. Who pays for the scribe? Who pays the fee of the note? The borrower is the one that pays. He's the one that's benefiting. He's getting the loan, so he pays for the note, even though the note goes to the lender. But the whole thing is his benefit, so he pays for that. Right? The lender doesn't gain anything from lending money, besides for the mitzvah. Right? Mm-hmm. And Jewish because there's no interest. If someone's trying to sell a field, you can write a document that this field is sold to so and so, even though the purchaser isn't there. But obviously you can't write it for the purchaser and sign it when the seller isn't there. Maybe the seller is not going to sell it. Then you end up with the document saying that you bought it. That's not acceptable. And the purchaser is the one that's benefiting. Why is the purchaser benefit? The Gemara considers that whenever someone sells something and he ends up with money, another person ends up with an item, an object, or a property, says the purchaser is always the one that gains. He has something substantial. The money, it comes and goes. But when you have an item or you have a property, then you're the one that gained over here. But people only sell because they needed the money. Okay, this is not talking specifically about the actual erisin and nesuin documents. This is talking about the tanaim that they make up. You're gonna pay for this, and we'll pay for that, and you pay for this, and we pay. Those documents of how the wedding is going to, who's gonna pay for what at the wedding. What was the flop or something? There was like a Rosh Hashanah. What do you pay for? They pay for that stands for photographer or something. Flowers,
liquor, orchestra, photographer.
Yeah. So yeah, don't look at that Rosh Hashanah. But anyway, so that arrangement has to be made together, and they have to write that document for that each is agreeing, because there's two people agreeing to that. So okay, and the chassan, he's considered the one that's gaining over here, and he's the one that has to write the document. Right. In the Mishnah, it says the husband pays for the get. The Gemara switches it to the woman. Yeah, that's why in the Mishnah it says that he pays for it, because he's the one in the Torah it says that, and he will write a get for it. So it's really the obligation is on him. We switched it for practical purposes. This is someone that's taking a field that he's going to, it's called a sharecropper. He's going to work the field and take some of the produce and share the produce with the owner of the field. So this has to be made, this has to be written by both of them together. But Makabel would be the one that's the worker. He's the one that's going to, right? The sharecropper himself. He's the one that's going to pay for this. He's going to be getting produce. He's getting from this field that he's working in, and he's going to be the one that's benefiting. Any shtar beirin is when, we'll see in the Gemara, but it could be the procedures of the court, and it also could be choosing which the judges, the arbitration agreement. It says, why is it called Beirin? Because this litigant chooses one judge, and that litigant chooses the other judge, and then the two judges together choose a third judge to be the one that's the deciding. Because you need to have an odd number. So, or any ma'aseh that you need to have the parties there. And both parties have to pay. Both witnesses, they write two documents. Because there's two parties here, each one gets a document. His opinion is going to be that it's not right that we have the agreement of what the court, with this arbitration agreement, what they ended up with is going to end up in the hands of one of them. And every time the other person wants to claim, but you owe me, yes, well, show me the document, and he's going to have to, he's going to have to go through that harassment. You scoundrel, the way they fought until they came, and then so he doesn't have to go through that. So they should have each their own document. Okay. What does it mean? What does it mean as long as they recognize each other, as long as they recognize Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav, they have to know the name of the woman for the get, and they have to know the name of the man for the get, and the name of the woman for the receipt of the ksuba that she's going to hand to her husband after he pays it up. Right.
What happens if they're like overseas and
I was going to discuss that in a minute. Hill is asking, what happens if they're overseas and people don't know them? Yeah.
So
yeah.
they have to happen at the same time, handing over the get to her and the receipt that she got the ksuva?
No.
No.
What we're saying now is that the husband shows up in court. He says this is his name and his wife's name, and they're going to write him a divorce, which he's going to later give to his wife. And they're not involved after that. They write this, and maybe it's not even court. Maybe it's just witnesses. Witnesses are going to sign on it. That this is document he wants to divorce his wife. Now, the witnesses need to know that this person that says he's Reuven ben Yaakov, they have to know that he's really Reuven ben Yaakov. The concern is that maybe it's that other fellow that's showing up that wants to divorce Reuven ben Yaakov's wife, that he says that he's Reuven ben Yaakov. He's going to end up giving this woman the divorce. Whether she knows about it, that it's true or not true, whatever, it doesn't, that's depending on her Yiras Shamayim. But anyway, they're going to run off, right? So they have to know that this is actually the person, Reuven ben Yaakov, who he says he is, and that he's the husband. Okay. Yosef Rav Safra Rav Acha Bar Huna Rav Huna Bar Chinena. Okay. Rav Safra, Rav Acha Bar Huna, Rav Huna Bar Chinena. Yosef Abaya Gabayo, and Abaya is sitting with them as well. They're sitting and they're discussing halacha. The Yasvi v'kamibaylu, they were sitting and the shaila came up. Shem ha'ish beget in, Shem ha'ish aloi. What were they saying over there? Rav Yehuda says in the name of Rav that you have to make sure that you know the name of the man, that to make sure that you recognize that this is the man. You don't have to know the woman. And then they say, you don't have to. 1 second. Why should this be an issue? What's he going to do? He's going to give it to a different wife of Reuven. Shema Ish. I guess the Gemara is saying is that maybe they're going to get the name wrong. What? That's the next piece. Next piece, but before that, about the get. Shema ish get. Okay, let me go a drop further. Now the same question is Shema isha b'shaver in Shema ish by the receipt. You only need the name of the woman. You don't need the name of the husband. B'leichash, let us suspect the makas of Gita. Maybe he's going to write. Oh, I get what's happening. Maybe he's going to write a get. Maybe there's someone else, another Reuven ben Yaakov or whatever that has a different wife. That his wife's name is Sarah. This one's name is Rachel, and he's going to go to this other woman and he's changed. He said the wrong name. He's going to go to that other woman and give her the get. Zimnin Azla Ksuba Isha. Zimnin Azla Kasva Isha Shaver. The woman is going to write a receipt. Viola Gavra the Lav Delay is going to give it to a man that's not her husband, and she's going to have the she's the, I guess the other wife has the same name, and that husband is going to have a receipt that he has paid up the ksuba. Yeah, that's the first one. Now we're past that. Now we're here. For example, oh no. It doesn't show up. Okay. For example, a man named Yosef ben Shimon will ask a scribe and witnesses to prepare a get for his wife Sarah. In reality, however, his wife is not Sarah. And he plans on giving the get to another woman named Sarah who is married to another Yosef ben Shimon. Yeah, exactly as we said. So she can falsely prove that she is divorced and therefore free to remarry. Yeah. Right?
Was the husband with the same name or the wife with the same
No, the wife's. Now we're asking, why aren't we concerned about getting the wife's name? Because we're thinking that maybe the husbands have the same name, the wives have different names.
Okay.
Meanwhile, he's going to give the get to the other person's wife. It's not even his wife. Well, Amalu Abaya says Hachim Rav. No, the Rav said this a little differently. Shema ish the get, b'huadin shema ish. You have to know both. And shema isha b'shayber b'huadin shema ish. You have to know the name of the woman in the receipt and also the name of the man. Okay, the Gemara asks, "V'leichash l'shnei Yosef ben Shimon Adarim be'aracha still makasiv Gita v'azal amamti le'elitza dahaych." Maybe there's two people that have exactly the same name, and they're going to give it to the wives also have the same name. Going to give it to, and they're going to switch. What do you think of that problem? Doesn't sound so common, but let's say big city. And it won't work because it needs to be lishma. It also won't work because it's not the right husband. It's two reasons, right? Okay. And you're saying even if he does give it to the husband wants to use it, it also won't work. But here we're concerned with more devious, where you just give it to the other woman and say that she's divorced without the husband giving it. Amalahu Ravacha Barhuna. Ravacha Barhuna says, was he one of the people that was sitting there? Yeah. He says, Rav said, whenever you have two people in the same city that have the same names, then when they do a divorce, they both have to be standing there. So that way we know that we resolve this issue. Yeah.
How does it work? She receives this get from another man that's not her husband. And then she uses that get to try to collect super from her husband.
No, that's a separate case. There's another case of the ksuba. There's two steps here.
But in that, how does that work? Because when she goes to her husband, it lets it super. Her husband's gonna say, "I didn't give you that get."
So, well, here's the get. What are you talking about? I have the get and there's witnesses.
But those
So it's his words against you. You're just trying to get out of paying. But I have a get.
But those witnesses cannot testify that he signed it when he really didn't.
No, the witnesses are testifying that they signed it.
The witnesses are testifying that they saw movement, but it's not the same movement.
The husband has no idea how this guy, how she got a get. But whatever the case is, she's in court with the get, and they're going to force him to pay it.
But isn't there a need for witnesses of the delivery?
And we have witnesses of the delivery. It was with the shliach or something.
But the shaliach has to be from the husband, from the real husband. It's the shaliach of the fake husband.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's complicated to say real.
It's the Mishnah says that the scribe can write a get for the husband, and not the woman. The
Right.
woman just gets a receipt. How should
And we're concerned that maybe we said as long as the Mishnah continues and says as long as we know the name of the husband, as long as we recognize that this person is the husband, recognize the name that he's the husband. We said so we're saying what's the problem? What could happen is that it could be that some guy is going to show up and say I'm the husband and prepare the get, and then the woman's going to end up think that she's divorced, or maybe we'll just have a get to collect.
The scribe never makes a get.
No, he gives it to the man.
Yeah.
But there's a condition that he has to recognize that
Right.
this is the man. Right.
Yeah, but I thought like the conversation, she received the get from the scribe.
She's receiving a get. If they don't recognize the husband, then she'll be receiving a get from a man that
Oh,
claimed
that's
he
not
was the
something we
husband that
know.
wasn't really the
Okay.
husband. And then she could use it also to collect, and also she may use it to get married. Okay. So we have a concern. Dilma Azla Achriti. Maybe he's going to go to another town. Masakle Lashmei B'Yosef ben Shimon. Ksiv Gita Mamti Leila Itzadahai. He's going to go travel to a neighboring town. Over in that town, they don't have two Yosef ben Shimons. He'll go over there and he'll have the get written over there. There's only one Yosef ben Shimon in that town. Or maybe his name isn't even Yosef ben Shimon in a new town. That's it. Maybe his name isn't even Yosef ben Shimon. He's going to go over there. So what's your name? His name is, he says, my name is Yosef ben Shimon. Then he's going to say, I need a get. Go to the best and say, I need a get. Right. So, Amalu Rav Huna Bar Chinna, Hachim Rab, Rav Huna Bar Chinna that was also sitting there. He says, no, Rab says, if he's there for 30 days, then you can assume that that's really his name. And you can, and 30 days go by and he didn't mess up. So that's fine. Let's say he wasn't there for 30 days. I'm Rabbi the Karlevani. Well, you call him and you see if he responds. And then that would be good enough. They contest it. Rosud no. Rosud says no. These guys, they know how to fake their identity. They're going to even wake up from some other name. They'll that's the right the name that they're going by. They train themselves to be able to respond to that name. So therefore, according to Rav Zvid, you would have to actually wait 30 days. You're right. Right. Okay. Okay. Who Tavra? It was a shaver. A shaver is the receipt that a ksuba was paid. Reb Yirmiyah Baraba signed on it that the ksuba was paid. I guess the woman said that the ksuba was paid. This woman shows up. It says Amrale. She said to Reb Yirmiyah Baraba, Lavana Havai. I was never there. I never received it. This wasn't me that received the ksuba, that received the money. Amar, he said, Ananami Amri Lahu, Labi. I also told the witnesses then that it's not you. Amrali, they said, no, make her should the kashala, ubagala kala. No, she got older. And this is her. The witness is convinced. The witness is convinced. Rabbi Yirmiyah Baraba, maybe the other witness or whoever was standing there, said, no, this is the woman. And she said that I received the ksuba. And so they wrote a document and they gave it to the husband that the ksuba was received. Now the real wife shows up, says, I don't know what you're talking about. I never received it. Amar Abaya says, Magid, since normally in a case, not since, but although normally in a case, once a person testifies about something, then he can't retract. And over here, Rabbi Yirmiyah Baraba already had it signed. However, over here he's able to retract and say that this was a mistake. We wrote a document for the wrong person. This wasn't really this woman. So from Merabanan, he doesn't recognize the women. He said it is there, they all look the same. So he didn't recognize. Also with the shaitels, you don't recognize them, they put on a different shaitel. So okay. The Hu Tabra, there was a receipt that Rabbi Yirmiyah Baraba signed on it. Amrale, she said to him, Lavanava, it wasn't me. Amrale, Ivra Antu, no, it was. I know it was you. Amar Abaya says, even though a tzurvim merabanan, a Torah scholar, is not it's not common for him to check out which woman it is, but given the duck. But when he does know, then he knows for sure. So therefore, when he said that it's her, so it has to be her. Well, Amar Abaya, Haitzuv Merabana Dasal Kedusha Yitza, the Daber Mamartz Pade, Dilma Machluf Lamine. If a Tzurv Merabanan is going to get married, so he should take an Amaretz with him, make sure that they don't switch the woman on him. Because the Amaretz would recognize the is Dr. Steiner. Then that thing that's by Iman, there's by Iman is Dr. Stein told me about it. So I signed them this thing. They send you a video every day about Shmir Seinayim. So one of the videos was a story about Rabbi Dessler. It's on a train. It was Rabbi Dessler. This woman comes over and says, he's with the student. The woman comes and says, what time is it? So he takes off his glasses and he looks at his watch. He says, what time? Anyway, 2 minutes later, she comes again. What time is it? So he takes off his glasses. He looks at his watch. He tells her. Anyway, it happens a third time. So the student says, this is crazy. How many times is she going to ask? So Rabbi Dessa said, how do you know it's the same woman? Anyway. So
I guess he wasn't looking.
he wasn't, yeah, he didn't see who it was. The Habal, this is a story with the Rebbe Marash, but he put on these like thick glasses when he went somewhere. Remember that story? He went somewhere, and there was another Rebbe over there who was very surprised. Then he did, and at the end it turned out that with those glasses he couldn't see. It was like like these dark glasses. V'habal noisin schar. The husband has to give the payment of the scribe. My timer. What's the reason for this? The Makra, the pasuk says, "Because of anasan," that he should write the document, and he gives the document. Okay, so because the obligation is on him, he's the one that's writing the document. He has the obligation, so he's the one that pays also. Now we don't do this. What's the explanation? They put the obligation on the woman because we don't want him to be able to delay any excuses. We try to remove any excuses that he can come up with why he's not giving the get. Just wait, I'm going to get paid, and then I'll be able to pay, and then we don't do that. So she has obligation to pay, and that way they can get the get quicker. Question. Yeah.
So, how practically does he repay her?
No, she pays for the document. Yeah, well, a get cost about maybe like $600 or something. So sometimes they split it. Depends. Yeah, it's like a very large mezuzah. Mezuzah cost $100, $200. This is just it's like 4 of them. It's a large mezuzah. It's big.
Like a shoe.
Yeah, it's written. Well, it's not exactly ksavashurs, but it's written with a quill on the.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it takes more. You see, a mezuzah is just written by one scribe. This is you need witnesses there, and you need other people. You have to pay for this. No, there's no psukim, but it's what is it? The Gemara say for this 12 lines, right? 12 lines. Yeah, and then the signatures.
You have to be a sofer for it?
No, not necessarily. Yeah, there's some gittin that are quite sloppy, and it's still kosher. It's not. You write a document for the borrower, even though the lender isn't there, and then we say that the lender, that the borrower is the one that pays for the document. Pshita, of course, he's the one that's getting all the benefit. And the Gemara says, not necessarily. It could be that this is a special document called the iska, where part of it is being lent, part of it is being deposited. The part that's being deposited is the income is going to go to the lender, right? And so he's actually making money. So maybe in a document like this is already like a business thing. Then maybe they should both pay, or maybe the lender should pay. You say no, the borrower is the one that pays. The one without the money, he's the one that pays for the document. Then we say over here that you can write a document for the seller, even though the buyer's not there. However, the buyer is the one that's is gonna pay for the document, together with whatever he pays for the property. So it's pshita, of course, he's the one that's gaining. He's gaining a property. So not necessarily. Sometimes there's a field that the guy really wants to get rid of it. It has a sinkhole in it or something, and so then you would think that maybe he's the one that's gaining. He's getting rid of this lousy property. No, the buyer is the one that pays for the scribe. In case of Starry you can only write these documents of the Tinoim, of who's going to pay for what, if they're both there. And it says that the chassan pays for the document. It says Pshita, of course he pays. He's the one that's getting married. He's gaining the wife. And so the Gemara says, no, maybe he's a Torah scholar, and the family of the Kala is flattered that this person is going to be entering into their family. So they're the ones that are gaining. They're gaining a scholar for a son-in-law. So, but nevertheless, the chassan is the one that pays. That's the chiddush. In case finshtar risus for kablanas, when it comes to the sharecropper, we say that the sharecropper himself is one that pays for it. He's one that's going to be gaining this business. So the Gemara says a pshita. That's obvious. The Gemara says leitzricha bebura. We're talking about that year they had to leave it fallow. So he's really not gaining. He's really not gaining yet. So, but nevertheless, he's the one that pays. In case in when it comes to the shtar beirin, when it comes to the arbitration agreement, they both have to be there. My shtar beirin, what does it mean by shtar beirin? Hacha and Bavel, Hacha means here. Tergima, they translated shtar tainasei. That means, what do you call the papers in the court where he said this, they said they responded that? What's
Pleadings. They're called pleadings.
The pleadings. So shtar tainasei would be the pleadings. All of these transcripts, right? These big they have these files and files of this. I remember they were getting the real the guys that really were into everything the Rebbe did and everything. So remember the Rebbe's court case with the Svarim. So they had papers and papers. These Bachrim had. They got the pleadings of the whole case.
Yeah, I know some people in court, they like type everything up on special keyboards.
Yeah, and the stenographers.
Yes.
So okay, shtar tainasei. Rav Yirmiyah Barabar Amar, he says different. He says zebar layachad v'zebar layachad. He's talking about the arbitration agreement, just that they're agreed to which judges they're going to rely on. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel Omer l'shnayim kais v'en shnayim zalatzmei. That we have two of these agreements, and this one gets one, and this one gets one. Lema, the Gemara says, it's interesting that in the Mishnah about Midas Daim and in Pirkei Avos, it says, if a person says, what's mine is mine and what's yours is yours, it says, some say that that's average, right? And others say that that's Midas Daim. That's the way of Daim. Well, do we force a person? Right, that's the first opinion. Second opinion is that Midas Daim. Now, do we say that when it comes to Midas Daim, we force a person not to behave like Daim? We force them to share it. So what we say is like this: maybe Marsav, or maybe the Tanakama holds kaifin, that we force them to share the agreement, to share that paper. Marsav, or Shimon ben Gamliel says ain't kaifin. We don't force them to share the paper. They each get their own paper, their own document. Umar says, "Loi kol yalma kaifin." We would force for Midas Daim. We would force them to share it. However, why over here, according to Shimon ben Gamliel, they're each going to get a separate document. He says, I don't want you to have your claim together with my claim, because when you're going to need it, the dumbest are like you because you're like a pouncing lion, ready to attack. And you're going to come to me because you want to claim something, you want to see your rights, and you're going to come. I don't want to have to deal with that. Okay, the Mishnah says, I have another few minutes. If part of a debt was paid up, and there was a document that says $100, let's say Reuben owes Shimon $100, so he paid 50. Reuben paid 50. So the Hishlish is started. So if they're going to leave Shimon with the document says 100. He paid 50 already. That could create a problem. He can collect the whole 100. So what they did was they gave the document to Levi, to the third party, and Levi is going to give it back to Reuven. They give the document to Reuven once he pays up the other 50. And Reuven, the one that owes the money, says, Im Loi, what's that? There. Im Loi Etain. Im Loi Etain lach mikan vad yom plini. Ten leishtari. He says, I'm going to pay up in a month. If I don't pay up in a month, then you can give the document back to Shimon and let him collect the whole 100. to be? Asmachta, very good. So he gives man v'leinasan. If the time comes and he didn't pay it up, Rabbi Yossi says, Yitain, he agreed. He agreed that he's going to do this. I don't know if that's interest.
Yeah.
But ignoring the interest part. Rabbi Yehuda says, you can't give it. The Micah, what are they arguing about? Rabbi Yossi sabar asmachta kanya, Rabbi Yehuda sabar asmachta lekanya. It's an asmachta. An asmachta, yeah. It's complicated, the difference between an asmachta and a regular tanai. But basically, I think the main thing is that asmachta is like a ridiculously exaggerated amount for, I bet you $1 million type of thing. That for something that it's not a typical stipulation. So here he's ready to pay an extra $50 for the because he's going to be late deals. So that's not typical. That's just an asmachta. He's just exaggerating his thing. I'm just 100% sure that I'm gonna, and that's so there's a machlekes over here. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi, this is a machlekes in all of Shas. Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda. If asmachta lekanya, do we accept that sort of stipulation? That what's the English for asmachta? Consent. Let's see over here. What does that say?
No.
Inconclusive consent. Inconclusive, is that the word that they're using?
Yeah.
Inconclusive consent. Amar Rab Nachman, Amar Rab Barvu, Amar Rab, Halach Rab Yossi. Allah is like Rab Yossi, and he says, Asmachta Kanya. Right? All of those, I bet you $1 million. Someone's going to be making money. Kiyasa l'kamei de Rabami, Amalahu.
Trying to convince the party to rely on
Right, right. He came to Rabami. Who said this? This was Rab Nachman. Says Allah Zayk Rab Yossi. Amalahu. He said, "Chmiyachesh Rab Yochanan malamdena parm rishayna shniya." Allah Rab Yossi. And he asked, "What can I do? What can I do?" Rab Yochanan also told us that Allah Zayk Rab Yossi. However, the Gemara concludes, "Ve'in Allah Rab Yossi." The Gemara concludes that Allah is not like Rab Yossi. I don't know what the halacha actually is. Usually the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, because the Gemara tells us nimuka yimai. What do you say? What is it they have? You have there the halacha from who?
According to all and then
Yeah. That even if the payment is not made by a stipulated date, the treasurer should not give the document to the creditor, as this agreement is considered a transaction which is inconclusive consent, which is null and void. Yeah. So we say asmachta loikanya. Okay. Shukayach. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Rabbi Smith.
was made in front of a court.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah, if it was made in front of a court, then